At the same time, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen stands by his party's decision to pull out of the upcoming national dialogue. In his reply to former President Thabo Mbeki's open letter, where the former president questioned the DA's decision to pull out of the dialogue, Steenhuisen defended his party's stance. And for more on this, let's now speak to political analyst Dr. Ongama Mthimka, and he joins us now via our video link. Dr. Ongama, thank you so much for your time, sir, this evening here in SABC News. Let's start off here. I mean, we've seen the Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen penning a letter to the former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki's open letter, basically standing by his word, saying that, this is basically a talk shop for the ANC. What do you make of his comments?
I think that it's important to remember why we are here in the first place. The Democratic Alliance needed something that it could use in order to counter the perception that it had suffered a political battering from the unilateral action of President Cyril Ramaphosa. It needed that both for the optics of it in terms of how it looks, but also in terms to send a message to its constituents that it was seriously responding to this issue. And I think that it found in the national dialogue something which South Africans are beginning to have mixed feelings about after the costs of it came to the fore. And as a result, found something that it could strike against, which would not be earth-shattering as far as perceptions about the stability of the GNU were concerned. It was concerned, but at the same time help migrate the debate from the issue of a fired deputy minister to something else. And I think that it's found just the right thing.
Dr. Ongama, with the DA being part of the government of national unity, do you think that, it is at a point in time where it is battling to define itself outside of government?
Interestingly, this is not something that's unique to the DA. All allies of the ANC in the democratic period have had to navigate this arrangement of being close enough and part of government or part of processes, while at the same time asserting their independence. So whether it be SACP or COSATU, they have been there. The DA is new to it. They have been mainly in opposition. They haven't really played the cooperative opposition game. Now they are having to be a partner in a GNU while also retaining their independence as a political party that's not part of the ANC. And that's proving to be difficult. And some of the decisions made by President Cyril Ramaphosa are making it very difficult for them to define this new reality. I think one of the key things for me that are going to be important for them is that, one, they are going to realize how politically unfavorable it is to quickly jump into threats and ultimatums when it comes to responding to some of the unfavorable things that unfortunately are still going to continue as a result of them being in the GNU. What they have made clear is that they regard the seriousness of the GNU as a political platform that brings together these two big strands of South African politics in very high regard, and it's important. And that is actually one of the weaknesses that they have coming into this. They must continue to be seen to be fighting to keep the stability of the GNU, while at the same time they have a constituency they are worried about when there are political events that put them on a junior position in the GNU. And that's something that's going to continue to be a challenge. It does also call for the ANC to become a lot more mature and also the president to become a lot more circumspect in terms of how he uses executive power. Because, quite frankly, these parties need each other. for perceptions about stability in South Africa. And I think that it's not good to send mixed signals about either of the parties' commitments to a GNU that is inclusive of two major rivals in the political system in South Africa.
And Dr. Ongama, when it comes to the comments being made by former President Thabo Mbeki in saying that, the DA's move to not form part of this national dialogue, it's misplaced and it is strange. Would someone say, is it fair to say that the upcoming national dialogue is an ANC-NEC program?
So President Mbeki and others who have been championing the national dialogue have had, at least for the past maybe month, a need to defend the national dialogue, especially after costs surfaced and people began to question how important it is given the price tag that it comes with. Now, the DA provided a political rather than an economic angle to come and defend the national dialogue publicly. And I think that he does a good thing of reminding us as a country, leveraging the political fracas as to why it was important to have a national dialogue in the first place. I think that's a political opportunity used exceptionally well, except that it's very difficult to justify the national dialogue when the numbers come to be considered. I think for me, perhaps as a national convention and then as a once-off, there's still very much space for it. We must be mindful of the fact that, Mbali, when this was conceptualized, it was really needed because the country was on a knife's edge as far as its future was concerned. We didn't know what was going to happen once the ANC, which had been the dominant party since 1994, lost power. And in fact, the concerns about what direction we would take, both politically and in terms of program for government and the country in terms of national development, there were genuine concerns. But I think that a lot of what has happened has actually overtaken the idea of the national dialogue has somewhat been overtaken by events, because even though at the time we could assume that these parties were not going to come and agree on a program, they have. And if you look at it, it's balanced. If you look at the medium-term development plan, and I think this is something that John Steenhuisen also makes, that a point that he makes, that if you look at it, these parties have done well in crafting a political economic program that's acceptable across the board. If you look at the top three priorities, any grouping of South Africans could have said and come up with those top three priorities. We have a problem with poverty, we have a problem with inequality, we have a problem with a state that is not seemingly able to drive development. There's nothing else that any gathering is going to come up with the outside of that.
All right, Dr. Ongama, thank you so much for your time and for your comments there. That's a political analyst, Dr. Ongama Mthimka, just giving us his insight in terms of that response from DA leader John Steenhuisen to former President Thabo Mbeki, and that's in relation to the national dialogue, which is set to take place in August this year.